I would believe that if I were to proceed regaling you of this story, void of the following qualifier, chances are some of you, if you've been with me for long enough in terms of music coverage on this channel, you would remember it. I've shared it occasionally, and I'm not going on an unnecessary tangent here. It's important to the particular artist I'm spotlighting here, because it's centered around why I guess it took me so long to get updated and apprised to their works. But I think back to June of 2022, we're digging back a bit, I know, but I've shared before, but I spent about 3 days straight consecutively updating my iTunes playlist, and I do not wish that task on anybody, especially when you've procrastinated for so many years and then you're pulling stuff off of free hard drives from split computers. It was arduous. I managed to catch up with it though, and in the process, I updated my library with a lot of the artists that I hadn't yet apprised not everybody, I'm still working on that, at least in some respects, but for the most part, I took, as I was organizing artists out, I made sure to consider if they'd released anything very recently. Nine Lashes is one name that I hadn't humored in a while. I've been a fan of theirs for a long time, but I hadn't looked into if they'd released anything new. That kind of fell off the board a bit, at least in terms of public conversation, especially in the Christian rock sphere. And they were pretty big when they started, at least from my opinion. They got a lot of attention, and I've, as I said, been a big fan of theirs. Maybe you've heard the name, or maybe you haven't even humored it before. Maybe some of you are longtime Nine Lashes fans. I do hope when it concerns the groups that I consult that there is a broad perspective of awareness and audience attention, because as much as it's an advantageous journey for me to welcome the company of like-minded fans out there, because I don't have this personal connection to my real life, especially as it pertains to not only metal music, slash rock music, which I'm a devout metalhead by choice. It's just such an advantageous place in the music scene to entertain. But even in the Christian sphere, and I made it no secret, in terms of the content I produce about my faith, I've been very open about that. Even in my close circles, there is no adjacency in regards to music tastes. But luckily for me, with many of you, that's not the case, as we have plenty of connection points for many of the groups I've spotlighted, even outside of the Christian sphere, in broad respect. It's been wonderful to have certain connections formed and, if permitted, as I explore music with you on a deeper level, which I love doing. It's my most favorite of the art forms in terms of what exists today, because it is so deep and it has a very personal connection in my life. I love being able to, if I can, sow seeds for you to discover new talents that you haven't been made aware of yet. And maybe some of you, like I said, are aware of Nine Lashes, but you've not entertained them in depth, or maybe you've never heard them before, maybe you have. I hope this will be a fun experience for all of us as we catch up, or as I catch up more specifically, with their most recent library. They haven't released anything new in terms of a couple years, but again, like I said, I dug back and I discovered that there were about 6 tracks I hadn't heard before. But in total, you're going to see 7. Because I decided to start this, and you'll see that in terms of the branding I oftentimes utilize for this channel, that I'm diversifying it a bit in respect to this video, and it won't be the only one in terms of different artists of what I'm thinking of currently and what I have planned. I have not listened to this particular song in a number of years, and the thesis of this channel is more so based around first impressions, so I'm going to give an exception in this case, because, and I'll address this to you, I have heard this tune before. But again, I've intentionally waited from listening to it again. Even though I've gone back recently and I've humored the initial albums on part of Nine Lashes, World Review, and From Water to War, the second one is my favorite. Well, I don't know, World Review's got some pretty good tracks, and that wasn't the debut album, but that was the second one. That was the one I think that got much more mainstream appeal, especially with Anthem the Lonely. I love that song. And Get Back. Get Back was beautiful. But From Water to War, I think, is my favorite. I can't wait to humor them again with you. I've been waiting long enough in this group, and I keep meaning to get around to covering them, because I would love to be able to showcase groups with the high rock caliber, especially in the Christian rock scene, like Nine Lashes has. I think they're still together, though. Like I said, they haven't released anything in a number of years from what I've seen, other than a couple years ago, which is what we're catching up on. But for some of you, my intention, again, I would understand the argument of, why are you looking at a track you've heard before, especially as it doesn't fit necessarily the thesis of this channel, because, as I said, I like to sow seeds, and when it comes to music, I love the fellowship quality, especially if it permits allowance for inspiring new fans of theirs. Breaking Out is a really good song that I hope, for those of you who are going to be, I would imagine, prospective fans of Nine Lashes, you're going to enjoy hearing on the first listen, as might compel you to look deeper. And it'll be a nice heralding to what we're about to entertain in terms of 6 works in total of what I've lined up in terms of the recent stuff that I haven't heard yet. This is sort of, I'm going to say, it's a special case of a fanfare, as far as I'm concerned. And I like doing that for Nine Lashes. Like I said, they're a particular favorite of mine within the Christian rock sphere. And I can't wait to perhaps form connections with others that might be new listeners of theirs. And I hope they evolve. As far as I'm concerned with Nine Lashes, because I've been listening to them for long enough in terms of years, doors always open. And we're going to exercise that privilege here together in a second with newer works. But Breaking Out. This came out in 2018. From my understanding as well, I did see some brief comments on this as I pulled up the lyrics for it. And of course, if you're not familiar with my coverage, those will be provided for you. I'm part of, in this case, Nine Lashes has made it so easy in terms of getting these uploads up quickly. And I don't mind, by the way, exercising, especially as these videos are much more passion projects as they exist on the channel. I don't mind doing extra work and somewhat labor, creative labor, really, to bring you the lyrics, again, to accommodate listener taste if you want to read along with the narrative. That's what I usually have to do in terms of physical integration, but in this case, Nine Lashes has provided a lyric video on part of not just one track, but everyone we're consulting. So it makes this process a whole lot easier for me. But Breaking Out, as I understand, I didn't know this, but it made it to, at least I'm reading this off the Genius website, number 27 on the Christian rock charts. That's pretty good. Like I said, they got some pretty good mainstream appeal, especially on debut performances. This is coming out, I forget after how many albums currently, but I mean, this is well into their career. And it's quite philosophical, at least in the way it's expressed in theme. Breaking Out is centered around an expression of the idea that peace comes in unpredictable forms and from unpredictable places. Like I said, it's a very philosophical quote, at least that's how it's stressed. And from what I remember with the song, it fits. Although, again, like I said, it's been a number of years. So it's not entirely a fresh presence. And again, I've changed the branding to accommodate, but whatever it is now, I mean, I don't even know at the moment. But I've tried to set it apart because it is slightly distant from a first impression model. But again, I feel that, with Nine Lashes, let's give a special fanfare to what we're about to entertain from them. Again, I love this group. I have for a number of years, and I cannot wait to enjoy new works, to me, with you, and perhaps compel an interest, if possible. All right, here we go. Let me take a rewind here. I remember the softer opening, and there was a build, yep. They had such great drive to their pieces. In terms of openers, I mean, this is the case of many of their previous efforts from the latter 2 rock-centric albums. Worldly View and From Water to War, to be specific. I guess I can speak to the video. It's fresh. I've not seen this before. It's color-wise quite invigorating in terms of interest. It's a great visual balance and color palette. I know, it's just something I noticed. A bit of an watermark, I'm sure. I remember the strain for this chorus. I forget the name of their frontman, but his talents really did captivate me again when I first heard them through Anthem of the Lonely and since. It's just wonderful listening to them, and I love the explicit Christian vision in the lyrics too. They've certainly not been shy about their faith at all. I'll take a reprisal. It's nice to rewind. I remember the segue. Doesn't this have a beautiful balance to it? It's funny. I think back on my previous experience listening to the song, I don't think I ever read the lyrics in depth. I can understand parts of it, of course, but... There's a raised inflection here, I remember that, right? I love listening to him. That ending was different from what... Maybe my mind just kind of restructured the song, because I thought it ended back where it originally originated. That's a bit of a twist ending for me. I like it, though. Again, Nine Lashes is such a wonderful personality, at least in my opinion. Again, humoring them all those many years ago was... I was introduced to a beautiful rock group that I certainly think, if they haven't been elevated at least high enough, they deserve to be. I'd love some new stuff. I mean, maybe that's what they're working on. Maybe they're not. I don't know. But I can't wait to humor more with you. And again, I know, as I said, I'm taking a bit of an odd path on how I'm approaching them in that we're starting with a familiarized song to me. In some respects, though, it's like a renewed freshness, because I forgot parts of this. And even in the lyrics, it's really interesting, by the way, to study. And I'm used to this, of course, as I said, with my faith. I've listened to Christian rock music for a number of years. I've been a real big fan of that space. Though I was raised on worship and contemporary, it changed over time, and now I'm just a devout metalhead. Broadly speaking, there's a couple of secular groups. There's actually a lot of secular groups I like, because there's talent, all over the place, but I have a special place in my heart for Christian talents in the rock sphere, and it's been a subset goal of mine to bring that into, because I spend a lot of time with more secularized artists. I've wanted to equalize the playing field a bit here. And spotlighting Nine Lashes, I certainly waited long enough, apparently. I'm finally getting to it. But, yeah, man, this throws me right back in terms of the pieces that originally inspired such a love with me. Strong riff use, dominant presence, real force to their music. And creatively speaking, I love the vocal set I'm part of. I think it's Tank, right? I think that's the lead singer. I don't know. My memory's not what it used to be at all. And I know I'm 25, but I've aged. Certainly. And in terms of the music scene, I catalog a lot of information, so you forgive me if some memories drip out a bit. Energy-wise, again, the song is quite compelling in my opinion. It's a high engagement to listen to, especially on rock tones. I love it. Great force and drive to it. But as I was saying, in the Christian rock sphere, it's really interesting to study different groups. And I'm not opposed, by the way, taking on a more veiled and poetic presence. I know some groups have articulated as much in terms of their desire to have and I understand the perspective. Maybe there's different ways people see it. But I have heard some groups express that they don't... You might have a group, let's say by comparison to Nine Lashes, that's incredibly explicit about the Christian vision. They've certainly been in terms of also names drops. I forget the song off of From Water to War, but they mention Jesus in the song specifically. So it's directly, and without, argument, it's an explicitly Christian song. It wasn't used like a cuss word or anything. It was used in a ministerial sense. Is that a word? No, I know it is, but is that a pronunciation? Side concern. Other groups might take a more poetic or veiled approach that they've expressed. It's a desire to keep it broad. I've heard that argument from around different places, and I forget specific attributions of the time, but I can think of groups that I was in the circles of, in terms of forming a interest in Christian rock. And there was an expression of, we want to keep these songs, because some people might exercise some skepticism on entertaining Christian-identified music, because it might be seen then as less approachable, and where the groups feel that we want to perhaps speak with a ministry mindset, but we want the widest net possible. It's a perspective that I've debated around, and there, I will say in respect, there are, broadly speaking, when I consider Christian rock groups, there are many that take on different traits. Some are explicit, some are a little more veiled, and so their messages perhaps have a much broader applicability. As much as I love those groups, I'm not trying in any way to throw shade, at least in the examples that I'm thinking of. I've always respected Nine Lashes for the explicit side in regards to the Christian attribution. That's very well embodied in their songs, broadly speaking, and breaking out it doesn't necessarily have specific identifiers, but I mean, like, it's so not hard to tell. I mean, you read, where was the one chorus? It's really interesting. Again, like I said, I don't think I've ever read the lyrics in depth, but I considered the back of my head, like, you know, I read them when you can hear it as you listen to the song. I think that's what I meant to say. Like, we were the dead, but now we're back as someone else and we are changed. I didn't read this final line. All of the pieces of our past have found their end without me. I love that line. That's wonderfully written. So specific to the Christian identity in regards to restoration. I like that. But again, even in some respects, you can also say it takes on... It's sort of in that hybrid space, that it's Christian explicitly and it has a poetic flair on the writing structure. You know, like I said, interesting path I took in instilling a track, again, against this channel's model in many respects, in that it's not really a first impression, but yet it's a renewed impression. I think it's a better way to put it. I didn't hear everything about this song originally at the first time, but considering it in greater depth broadens the appreciation. And I hope you feel as compelled as I do to engage further with Nine Lashes. I mean, I can certainly speak to their back catalog. You'll like them, 100%. And we'll be entertaining them pretty soon in terms of their newer lineup with some of their more recent works. I'd love to hear, though, your thoughts on Breaking Out down below. I really like this piece. I respect it even more than I did when I first heard it. You know, I can't even tell you when that was. It was probably close to the release date, but I intentionally waited. I did. Because I wanted to enjoy this on par with you, but I was trying to think about how to do it. And I know, again, it's a bit of a different model than what I normally run on here, but for Nine Lashes, taking a bit of a rewind and reminding myself of not only what I generally enjoy about them as rock artists, but also in the Christian metal scene. They're extremely talented in many respects. I'm glad I took that path because, again, I didn't notice everything originally. It's funny what rewind experiences do for you. I'm glad I took that with Nine Lashes. I am. Fun way to segue into what's coming, as I said. This is a giant fanfare, I guess, in part, that we'll be entertaining 6 tracks in total going on after this, but Breaking Out really one of their better works, in my opinion. I love hearing it. It just getting that reprisal experience makes me appreciate it even more, especially when I study the song in a greater depth. There are things I didn't recognize at first and things I forgot about. Makes me, reminds me exactly of how I felt when I originally heard Nine Lashes for the first time. I really do admire this group. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.